Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PlayStationGL for some more F3 action. It is round 7 of the season, and we're heading to one of the most historic circuits still in use today. It is Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. Who will be victorious around the fastest circuit on the F1 calendar? Just over an hour's time, we will find out. Will it be Carlsberg carrying on his amazing run of form and extending his championship lead, or will we see someone else take the top step on the podium? I'm Luke Etheridge. Alongside me once again is F8 admin Sam Thompson. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great tonight, and I'm really excited for this one. The Temporal Speed Monza, one of the fastest track on the F1 calendar officially today, and obviously, like you said, most races ever, and we've seen some exciting ones over the years, including 2020, of course, which saw unlikely winner of Pierre Gasly winning. And we've had this kind of sort of thing with F3 as well. I think at the start of the season, no one would have really expected Koala to come out the gate and win a few races or get podiums this season, but he's actually turned out to do really well in the last 2 rounds, and I'm really excited to see what happens with him tonight, and of course with everyone else.
Yeah, I think that Belgian Grand Prix a couple of races ago was pretty much our Monza with completely different winners, people getting slightly lucky. Koala admitted it himself. He got a bit lucky under the safety car, and again last week where he finished second behind Carlsberg, who somehow, I don't think Carlsberg quite knows how he managed to do this, held on the hard tyres when he had Lars and so many others behind him on faster soft tyres. Lars made a mistake, and that ended up costing him the victory. Still came home, though, to finish in 3rd place. And what that means is Lars is currently second in the championship on 44 points. You've got Carlsberg leading on 67. Zach has 41, Ginger 36, and Koala, 2 great results in the last couple of races, shot him up to 5th in the championship. Unsurprisingly, given Carlsberg's lead, it is McLaren in the lead of the Constructors, 24 points ahead of Ferrari, who have got Zach and Super Mario getting consistently in the points lately. It has to be said, we had a very interesting race with a few safety cars in Belgium, same again in Zandvoort. Do you reckon we'll see safety cars tonight here? Because there's high speeds, big braking zones, always the potential for big accidents.
Well, we've seen quite a lot of tiers already have safety cars around Monza, and of course you've got to think the exit of Ascari, a lot of people do tend to bottle it or get it wrong, and well, with that, obviously that brings out the safety car. We've seen virtual safety cars as well, and of course in real life again we saw a bunch of safety cars coming out, and in fact the red flag, of course we can't have that in this game unfortunately, but yeah, there are many places where you can actually bottle around this track despite there only being 9 turns, and the main ones really that spark to me is Lesmo 2, except for Ascari, and of course Parabolica as well. People do get that wrong, and they do make mistakes at Parabolica where they're in a half spin, full spin, or perhaps just making a general mistake, but generally this is actually quite a tricky track, and if you do get something wrong, that's your lap over.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen Lars very early on invalidate through the Rettifilio chicane, so definitely not an ideal one for him. We'll go on board then with championship leader, 4 wins from 6 races so far this season. It is Carlsberg as he heads towards the finish line, then already doing 200 miles per hour as you open the rear wing and activate that DRS system. 214 miles per hour as you hit the braking zone for the Rettifilio chicane, reprofiled in the early 2000s after a series of big accidents, keeping it nice and calm through there. Coming up now towards Curva Grande, expect to see a lot of slipstreaming here in the race as drivers decide which way to go. Do you go left? Do you go for the right hand side for the braking into the Rogia chicane? Got to be careful with that curve on the inside. You hit it too hard, can easily bounce into the gravel. Next, it's with 2 Lesmos. Lesmo 1 again. Don't want to run too wide, and you can see Carlsberg invalidating there. Second Lesmo can also kill you on the exit. Heading down now towards Ascari chicane under the old bank in there, which was fearsome. And you said it yourself, Sam, as Carlsberg looks to have dropped off. It's this final curve at Ascari. You go anywhere near it, and as soon as you put in the power down, you find yourself inevitably spinning round. And with Monza being such a high speed track, There's no such thing as a small spin around here. Usually it has big consequences.
Yeah, that is one of the corners which I sometimes fear going through Ascari and just meeting with that curb. And, you know, if you get it wrong, your car's almost in a half spin, and then you just panic a little bit, and sometimes you panic a bit too much and you're in the right side or you're in the left side. And it's a corner that's actually quite difficult to get round and do it perfectly. Like, a lot of people were like, this track is one of the easiest tracks on the calendar because it's got lack of turns and everything. And as we've seen there, Boss Wanted in the wall. He's lucky to keep it out. It wasn't the exit of the Scary, but it was the second to last corner, which if you get that wrong, similar consequences can happen. But famously, it's that inside and that final corner where if you do get a bit too bumpy over it, you're going to spin, and inevitably the likelihood is you're going to be out of the qualifying session or the race itself as well.
Yeah, Boss Wanted heading into the pits there for new tyres and perhaps even new underwear as well. Quite a high-speed spin for him. D-Spreen, who's actually fastest at the moment, on a 118.419. Not the quickest time, given the fact that in F4 we saw pole position as a 118.089. Still very close between everyone that's gone out. Calzo, interestingly, going for the medium tyres, perhaps trying something a bit different on the first run. And we have got most of the drivers who are actually in the pits, all on an outlap at the moment. We're just going on board with... We'll go on board actually with Black Phoenix as he's about to start his lap. He actually got a 10-second penalty last time around for a couple of collisions. That dropped him outside the points, and it's really sort of faded for both of the Williams drivers. At points this season, Black Phoenix and Bugatti have been very quick and very consistent. They've got, early on in the season at least, they've got 3 podiums between them. Neither of them scored any points in the last couple of races. They could both just do with having a nice clean evening and getting a few more points on the board and maybe getting a bit of that confidence back.
Yeah, they've just backed up a little bit. I think maybe the race in Belgium, it kind of drained their confidence a little bit. And in the Netherlands, as we saw, of course, Black Phoenix finishing 11th there as well. And obviously Bugatti DNFing the last 2 rounds as well. There seems to be a lack of confidence in those Williams right now. And I wonder if it is... Maybe they're not being used to being in the midfield, perhaps, because of course last season 1 and 2, these two as teammates, won the constructors, absolutely cruised the constructors in fact in the F2, and of course Bugatti winning the championship. It's a whole different picture. There's a whole lot of new drivers, and I guess you've got to try and adapt to others' driving styles, and perhaps that is something that they've not been able to do, and they've not been able to find time. They are also on a new game, of course, let's not forget. Last game was F1 2019. This game's F1 2020. Things are a little bit different in terms of the handling, and perhaps that is also affecting these two as drivers in terms of their performances.
Yeah, that is very possible. Black Phoenix, though, very good lap there for himself. 2nd position at the moment. Interesting to see Zvanderbrug up there. I believe now he is actually the only full-time driver, I think, in the field who hasn't scored any points yet, and he's up in 3rd place at the moment in an Alpha Tauri, doing really well at Monza. Where have I seen that one before? As Cohen goes fastest now on a 118.402, and I was just about to say Cohen missed the first couple of races, got his first points last time out, and I think we're going to maybe see what Black Phoenix and Bugatti hopes happens to them. That confidence is coming back a tiny bit more. We might start seeing him up at the sharp end of the field and maybe boosting Mercedes' chance of catching up in the constructors. They could definitely take advantage tonight of the fact that McLaren have Toxic missing, so only Kalsberg was there for them. We know Lars is incredibly quick, and as we're seeing at the moment, Cohen on his day can be just as fast.
Yeah, and Cohen on pole position right now. He hasn't missed. He hasn't done many races, and of course, 2 of them he's been DNFing. So technically, if you speak, when he's finished the race, he's got a 100% record for points. But when there's only 1 round, that doesn't seem so impressive. As Dean Spreen takes back pole position, looking at an 18.0, Kalsper 3rd with an 18.4, but D Spreen looking very quick right now. 4 attempts clear basically of this next driver, so very quick time from the Red Bull driver, who I believe he is a reserve replacing Looney tonight, I believe. So yeah, very good impression from him so far.
Yeah, definitely, but the gap between 1st and 2nd at the moment is about the same size as the gap between 2nd and 9th, as 2nd and 10th now pretty much, as Boss Wanted goes up into 7th position at the moment, and Young Power 118.198. So the reserves looking pretty good tonight. Young Power replacing Cherry Tupai. Cam Anderson, happy birthday to him. Unsurprisingly, didn't fancy spending his birthday driving around Monza as much as I'm sure he would have loved to. We've got Kazizel just taking it a bit easier at the moment. Looks as though he's maybe on another warm-up lap on these tyres. And Monza, it's not really a circuit where you kill the tyres as much. Apart from the Lesmos, not really many high-speed corners around here, so the front tyres don't get the hammering that they get at some other circuits. For example, Zandvoort last week.
Well, no, of course not, but the rear tyres, especially that rear left, that can sometimes be calling out for help sometimes, pretty much, because all your tyres, the tyre wear seems fine except from that rear left. I suffered a puncture there in the FP last week on Tuesday, and although that was a softer hard for me because I pitted on lap 1, the hards could not make it to the end, and it was that rear left that got the puncture and was far worse than any other. And obviously last night I raced as well, and it was the same sort of scenario. That rear left is going to be agonisingly painful to drive with, and I don't know which corner really causes it to be so bad. I'm assuming it's just Ascari really which causes it, but I mean at the end of the day it's painful because the strategy can be quite awkward when, say, there's a safety car like we saw in F2 only an hour ago. There was a safety car around lap 13, and there's a lot of split strategies you got from them. Will the softs make it to the end? Is there any point we go in hards if I've started on the mediums? Or, you know, you got all those questions to answer, and it was rather mixed from everyone there. As we see Lars come across the line, it's at 18.5, so good time from him. But yeah, it's a very mixed opinion. It depends if the safety cars come out, and obviously tyre wear can be a little bit of an issue if you make it an issue, basically. So it's that rear left you've got to be careful of.
Yeah, it's probably the rear tyres more than the front here that get the killing on the traction zones. Koala's backed out of his lap, down in 13th at the moment, but seems to love going for that alternate strategy and maybe striking it lucky ever so slightly. It's looking extremely close into midfield at the moment. We've got 5 drivers all in the 118.5, starting with Svanderbrug, ending with Zach. This man, Ginger, who's just invalidated, 1,000th ahead of Zach. And Ginger, he's been showing some good form. He's one of those drivers, along with Lars, that you feel like this season they'll be very devastated pretty much if they don't get a win. Ginger's only had 1 podium so far. It's just 8 points off of 2nd position in the championship. So could tonight be the night where he maybe pushes himself onto the top step of the podium for the first time. Zach, he's also invalidated. Who have we got? Calzo's just starting a lap. Cohen improving through the first sector so far, and he's got a big gap to try and find by F3 standards at least. 2 tenths at the moment off of Young Power.
Well, yeah, we'll see here. Look at that. He's getting closer to it, of course. You need a really good sector 3. How does this Ascari go? Look, goes really well, and in fact he gets the throttle down very early then, not being cautious whatsoever as he goes through the corner. I'm not surprised with these drivers because they're very, very quick, but as he comes into the final corner now, Parabolica, how is he going to approach it? To the inside he goes, obviously trying to make sure he's got the smallest time possible, and it's an 18.0. Look at that. You said about Cohen needing to improve by around 2 tenths. Well, he seems to have proved us wrong when he's gone and done it. Back to pole position, it goes the Mercedes driver, Cohen.
Yeah, that was an absolutely mighty final sector. Found about 2.5 tenths in that final sector alone, so he's now 200ths of a second ahead of D-Speed, and we'll get to see what can the Red Bull driver do. Can anyone in this session sneak into the 1 minute 17s perhaps? Kalsper then, championship leader, 4 pole positions and 4 victories so far this season from 6 races, and he's showing some big improvements as well. He's currently about 3 tenths of a second up, but just took too much curb at the exit of Ascari at turn 10. That lap is invalidated, so I imagine he'll be heading into the pits now, getting a fresh set of tyres on and maybe giving it one more run in this session.
Yeah, it's not very good Ascari from Kalsper. It looked like a decent lap. He was 2 tenths up at the time. We saw what happened with Cohen. He went flying in the final sector, of course, and there's not much time you can really make out the final sector, but he just got Ascari all wrong, I think. I think he just went wide in the first 2 corners, and he just didn't really have the best sort of Ascari there, and that really put him off. But Yeah, he will have enough time for one more run, which is thankful for him, of course. He's happy that's not his final run, but the championship leader and four-time winner this season, he'd be happy in fourth at the moment, I reckon. But I'll tell you what he would be happy about is the gap between him and third, because obviously that doesn't affect you in the race, but he would like to be a little closer to that pole position, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another reason he'd be happy with fourth place is that two of the drivers ahead of him at the moment are reserves. And the other one who is Cohen, who is currently actually 19th in the championship. So his tackle rivals, as close as any rivals are, because it looks like Cohen's doing a fantastic job. He's again got more than a race victory. Lars, Zach, Ginger, 10th, 11th, 12th at the moment. So quite a long way off. And that could see the alternate strategy maybe work out if one of these faster cars that we know are quick starts further down the order. Could be very interesting indeed. Kazizel and Bugatti still yet to set a lap time. So we are then on board with Pit Mac, currently in last place at the moment. That makes it, well, last place if everyone's at set a time. He's still only 8 tenths off of pole position at the moment, which is, in real Formula 1, that's just a standard Mercedes qualifying margin nowadays. So we'll see what Mac can do through the Parabolica, returning after an absence last week, yet to get on the podium at a 4th place finish in the first race of the season in Austria. Can he improve his time here? He can indeed. Goes up to 7th, identical time then to Koala. We've got 5 drivers in the 118.5s and 5 in the 118.4s. Just one slight mistake here, one slight lock-up could easily be the difference between starting in 4th place or starting outside the top 10.
Yeah, and Pit Matt, I don't think he can get another run in, can he? Because he's ended his lap quite early, and he obviously can't go into the pits. I think he could get round again, possibly, but I don't know why he would do that, to be honest. But I mean, the next driver we've got on a lap is Ginger, so Ginger is going to be an interesting one to see. He's come out obviously very early again. Still people in the pits waiting to get out of the pits, and I think they're now all out finally. I think the final one must have been Koala. And they should make it to the end. It's going to be a very close call, though.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Ginger has improved. I'd say most of the drivers are leaving it late to maybe try and get the slipstreaming that we saw in F1 in 2019. But, of course, you're not allowed to do that in PSGL in qualifying. You can't slipstream anyone else to try and make it as fair as possible for all of the drivers. So I think they're more going to be trying to get themselves spaced out to make sure they can get plenty of space out on circuit to set a lap here, as Ginger is improving. He's nearly a quarter of a second up. Just takes too much curve. We've seen a few drivers do that through Ascari. He might have enough fuel in to get around again. He maybe could do with maybe popping that ERS up ever so slightly, and we'll get to see what he does, because he will still have enough time to get another lap in. Who else have we got heading towards the end of a lap? Now, it looks like we've just got most of the drivers actually coming up to the start of their laps. See if D-Spring can improve at all. 30 seconds to go in this qualifying session, then it's Cohen, D-Spring, Young Power. I think you'd have got some good odds at bookmakers of that being the top 3 at this moment in time, but still a lot can change as the drivers are going on their final laps in this session. We'll see what the Red Bull driver can do. He's actually a long way down, 1.5 tenths down on his personal best. Takes a bit too much curve as well. I think he's just about got away with it, but can't see him improving at this moment in time. Koala has just made it across the line. Kazizel, he's going to be the first driver to finish his lap. He shoots up into third with a 118.129. His teammate, Boss Wanted, can only get into 5th place. Zach, 14th only for him. And Lars shooting up to 5th position. I think we're going to see a lot of changes here. Young Power, he's only 100th of a second down. Can he improve through the Parabolica? Maybe seek himself ahead of the other reserve in the Haas of Kazizel.
Yeah, and Kasper's out. He's invalidated his lap, and now full eyes attention onto the likes of Black Phoenix, Koala, Calzo, and of course Vanderberg as well. And they're actually not on Black Phoenix, because Black Phoenix is invalidated as well, but Calzo cannot go any higher, as it looks like. And, well, I'm going to say this now, Cohen is a really good spot. Koala is down on his time, Pitmat's in the pits, Calzo's in the pits, Svanderberg is invalidated. Unless Super Mario's up, he's up, but he's invalidated, so Cohen has pole position here.
Yeah, we'll see if Koala can maybe force his way up the order, and no, he's 10th down on his own time, so it looks like 10 might be the best he can do if he gets a really good final sector. could possibly sneak himself up into 8th, and no, heads into the pit. So it is Cohen with his first pole position of the season. First one for the Mercedes team as well, amazingly, given the fact that Lars has now 3 times been first man across the line in the race, that he's not got pole. But it's Cohen in first, Spreen second, and Kazizel in third. 2 reserves getting into that top 3, and the man who's on pole position here only got his first points last time around. So this is a very mixed up grid to what you would usually expect. Young Power is in 4th, Ginger, the first of those at the front of the title race, in 5th, Lars just behind in 6th place. Could this be the time when he finally gets that first victory, having had 3 podiums so far? Boss Wanted is 7th, championship leader Kalsper 8th, Black Phoenix is in 9th, Koala 10th, Pitmat with an identical time to Koala. He starts 11th, but he does get that fresh tyre choice, which could prove to be crucial. Calzo in 12th, Vanderbrug showed good pace early on in that session. He could only end up 13th. Zach down in 14th, Bugatti 15th, Super Mario, the last driver, 7/10 of a second off of pole position. I think what we learned from that session is that there's a lot of quick drivers in there, but we might see a lot of corner cutting penalties as well. Just judging, I'd say in the last 6-7 minutes, nearly every car I went on for a lap seemed to invalidate it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when drivers are pushing, they always seem to invalidate. And, well, it looks like we're on for a dry race as well. And hopefully that is the case for a dry race. But, yeah, it seems like a lot of people invalidated. We saw a lot of penalties in other tiers. We've seen a lot of people pick up penalties, and it's quite easy to pick up penalties as well here, especially when you're pushing again. Turn 1, sometimes you can get something out of that. I believe turn 4 as well, maybe turn 5. I mean, you had to really be pushing if you want to get anything at turn 5. But unless obviously you're correcting something and have to go over, then you could get yourself a 1 in there. Obviously for Ascari, there's 2 or 3 places where you can get penalties there, and if you do understeer, especially the first few laps with the dirty air, if you do understeer at Parabolica, that could cost you another warning as well. So there's a lot of easy places to get warnings here, and obviously rack up penalties at the end of the day. But I think all these drivers are experienced enough, they've worked hard enough, and they know the track limits here in terms of the race track limits anyway. We shouldn't see too many penalties, and hopefully, if I'm correct, we should see a race winner on merit and not on penalties.
Yeah, sure, that is obviously what we all want to see, and they should all be pretty used to this track then. This circuit has hosted more F1 races than any other. 70 races in the 71 years at Formula 1, or 71st season now of Formula 1, only missing 1980 when the track was being renovated and the Italian Grand Prix was held at Imola. And it's Cohen with the view everyone wants to see. He's going at a fair rate of knots, I must say, on this formation lap. He wants to get round to the grid and get this race underway. You can see the tyres that everyone is on. We knew the top 10 would be on the soft tyres. Outside the top 10, you've got this man, Pitmat, Calzo, and Zach starting on the medium tyres. Should be a fairly standard one-stop race for everyone, you'd imagine, unless we get a safety car.
Yeah, it should be a one-stop race, unless obviously, like you said, antics play into it. Safety car damage, yeah, that could cost you a pit stop, of course. But I mean, interestingly for the soft drivers, you've got the window, I believe, between lap 8 and lap 12. You can take the softs to around lap 13, but they are dire at that point, of course, and there's no point doing that. But I'll be looking to see drivers come in on the softs around lap 9, lap 10. However, for the mediums, I'll be looking for around lap 17 for them to come in. But interesting strategies outside the top 10. Only half of them go in the mediums, the other half go in the softs. It's a long pit lane here, so I kind of understand those going onto the softs instead of the mediums. But interestingly, Vanderberg, Bugatti, and Super Mario are more towards the back, and they'll need to really get past these medium runners, because if they get stuck behind them, it's not a good job for them.
Yeah, we just saw the pit strategies come up there. I'd be surprised to see anyone on the hard tyres unless they go for a really severe undercut or get damage in the early stages. That's always possible with their heavy braking zone. Down towards the Rettifilio chicane as the lights are coming on here at Monza for the Italian Grand Prix. And we are underway. It is a good start from Cohen, then getting away well. Already covering over to the right-hand side to make sure that the screen can't go for a move down towards the inside at turn 1. You've got Kazizel trying to go all the way around the outside. He can't make his way through as well. The two FLL drivers seem to have stopped of Ginger and Young Power at this moment in time. Lars currently fighting off Boss Wanted as well. Black Phoenix right underneath the rear wing of Kalsper on lap 1. Is he going to be close enough to go for a move into the Rogier chicane? Sticks to the inside line, but no. Pretty much single file through there from that far back. And in fact, it gives the McLaren a slight little tap on his way through as well. We'll see who else has moved positions. A swap between Calzo and Pitmat and Bugatti and Zach. Those soft tyres probably just providing maybe a bit of extra traction on the line there for Bugatti, as Zach has actually now dropped behind his teammate Super Mario as well. The two Ferraris 15th and 16th on the grid at the moment, and I never thought I'd say this. That's not too far different from where they were in real life at Monza this year. But Cohen ahead in the lead of this race at the moment, about half a second at this moment in time. Young Power getting a very good exit through Ascari in the slipstream of Ginger, but because there's less downforce on these cars and the rear wings are a lot thinner than you get at most circuits, the slipstream and therefore the DRS isn't as effective as at some circuits. Although again here, Young Power getting an absolutely fantastic exit out of a Parabolica, but you can see once he gets in that slipstream, it's not really giving him the boost that he would have expected. And Zach coming into the pits, that medium strategy really not worked for him. Damage early on, it must be surely. Fantastic camera angle, that's not showing any front wing change, but it's taken a while, so it must have been a front wing change for him. He's actually put on the soft tyres. That is an interesting strategy indeed.
Oh yeah, and look at this. We're playing sort of like a who's where at this point. It's like a location sort of thing, but yeah, Zach onto the softs, interestingly. I wouldn't have expected him to go onto the hard, so he's obviously doing a two-stop strategy then, and I'm a little surprised about that one. I'm assuming he's hoping for a safety car, or he's thinking there's going to be a safety car early on, but that's a risky one from Zach, but that might just be him out this race. And if you've just joined, he's not in the lead, he's right at the back. He's not that far ahead, of course, but there we go. It's all fixed itself now, so Cohen still in the lead of this race.
Yeah, Cohen still in the lead at this moment in time. On board with championship leader Kalsper. They'll have DRS next time around. First time they'll be able to use it. He's on the run down to the Ascari chicane, but he's going to be very brave to make a move there then as Cohen. Again, fastest lap of the race. He now leads by 0.6 of a second from D-Spree, then Kazizel, Ginger, Young Power, Lars, Boss Wanted, Kalsper, Black Phoenix, Koala. Top 10 at the moment. We've still got all 16 runners here on lap 3, which is great to see, and we'll take this opportunity to thank our sponsors here at PSGL, Brutal Democracy, who are providing prize money to the winners of the top 3 divisions. At the moment, it's Kalsper looking in prime position to get himself that £20 bonus, and he was right on the back of Boss Wanted at that moment in time. He was at a massive moment on the exit out of the Rogier chicane. Fortunately for Kalsper, he wasn't able to get close enough to get alongside. DRS train all the way down then from 1st to 15th at this moment in time, just given the nature of this circuit. That is what we see quite often. That's going to make it hard for some of these drivers to overtake, so could see some very early pit stops here. I know you said around laps 8 or 12 as Boss Wanted picks up a penalty there and nearly loses it over the curve. I think it was him who lost it in qualifying and ended up on the other side of the runoff, and that time again getting away without any damage, but it's cost him 2 places.
Yeah, down to 9th place. Boss Wanted, did he get just another penalty there? Because it just came up like it twice, I swear it did. I'll just check that. No, he just got 1 penalty, but he got an extra warning out of that. But I mean, Boss Wanted there, he was all over the place for Ascari, and that was quite scary at the end for him. And I guess it's when you get a warning thing flashes up, and obviously at the start of Ascari, you don't really want that, because that could really put you off if you look at that. And well, you know, it's a blip that comes up, and perhaps that's what's cost him. But he's a good driver, and obviously Boss Wanted, I'm sure, will come back. But yeah, he would not like that spin, and he would not like that half spin, and he's down to 9th, and he's lost 2 positions out of it. But yeah, there we go. There's a small example of what mistakes can be made at Ascari.
Yeah, most certainly. Thankfully for him, he was able to get away with it. We saw Bugatti and Calzo swap around. So Bugatti, last year's F2 champion, is now up into 11th place, and he did finish 4th in the F2 race here last year, and his teammate then and his teammate now, Black Phoenix, actually finished in 2nd position. So they've got a long way to work their way up the order. They want to get back into a similar position. Kizizzle set the fastest lap of the race last time around, no doubt aided by DRS, and we're just sort of in that awkward phase that we seem to get now, where all the gaps are somewhere in the region of half a second, so no one's really under threat from anyone and being passed in the DRS zone, except maybe the one driver at the front of the race who doesn't have DRS. Spreen getting very close to the back of Cohen there on the run down towards the first chicane, but on traction, obviously that Mercedes is always going to stretch it out, and probably Spreen just a bit too far behind to really do anything about it at this point in the race. We could see some very early pit stops here maybe, just to try and take advantage of the undercuts.
Well, D. Spreen actually was looking to go for a move. He was closing quickly and he would have got Cohen. However, it seemed like he lifted a little bit, and I wonder if he's doing that strategically to be behind Cohen and get him stick in his DRS and just keep pushing forward. Look how much that's helped him get away from Kazizel, who's now 7 tenths behind him. If he's going to keep working like this with Cohen, then two are just going to keep getting away, and Kazizel's just not going to get close enough. And we may see it again from D3, or he will get by this time, but he just backed out. He didn't rush anything, and as we see, let's get Lars picking up penalties early on. That's not good for him, because he wants that race win that he so desperately needs. Arguably speaking, but it looks like the early penalty is a bit of a barrier up for that at the moment.
Another thing that is not good for him is, as you can see, he's dropped that second behind Young Power at the moment. That means he's not going to get DRS, and he didn't really get the best exit out of Parabolica. So Carlsberg, with the DRS open, using his DRS at the early part of the straight to get the most benefit from it, says thank you very much, as at the front of the race we have had a change then. Now we're starting to see a few more moves. Speed getting ahead of Cohen. Bugatti up into the points as well, so we've got a new race leader. It is Spreen up into the lead of this race. Now we'll see if Cohen, can he fight back next time around now that he's got the advantage of the DRS. And all this battling, of course, is just going to allow all these other drivers to just stay in contact and stay in touch. And they're saying that, I think Lars is really struggling at the moment. He's dropped a second behind Carlsberg pretty much instantly. And now he's got Black Phoenix all over the rear of him.
Yeah, I don't know, does Lars have a little bit of damage perhaps? There is a chance that might be the case. The camera angle doesn't show me anything great, neither does that one. He may have a little bit of damage on that wing, and he might do, I think, on that left side. He's got a tiny bit of damage on that left side, and that's probably...
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Sam. Boss Wanted has got it wrong at Ascari yet again. Surely that time he's hit the wall. If he's got away...
Oh, he's got away. I don't think he's got any damage either, I'm not sure. But he's actually got no damage on his end plate. I don't understand how he's got away with that one. That's impressive, but... I mean, it's not impressive that he spun the car, of course, but it's impressive that he's kept out the wall and not got damage, so fair play to him, but, you know, obviously that's not really a good confidence boosting anyhow, just the fact that he spun out of there.
Yeah, that's 3 times already when you throw qualifying and the first few laps of this race, so bad news for him. He's dropped a long way out of the points, and he won't have done those soft tyres any good whatsoever. Lars has now been passed by Black Phoenix, so the Williams up into 7th. His teammate has been promoted up to 9th, thanks to Boss Wanted spin, so he might be one of the first drivers that actually comes into the pits. Now on board with championship leader Carlsberg, 6th position at this moment in time, trying to stay in touch with Young Power and Ginger, and in fact Young Power very close to the back of Ginger, but you can just see that Alfa Romeo seems to have very good straight line speed at this moment in the race. Whether he just used a bit more ERS down the straight, I'm not sure. As Cohen, he picks up a 3-second time penalty on the way into Ascari. Seems to be where all the drivers are just putting that curb a bit too fine. They might have to be careful of that as the race goes on, especially as they start pushing harder later on when the fuel loads come down. But the tyre wear will be a critical factor as well. Lap 8 then of this race. Is Cohen going to be close enough to maybe send one down the inside? He's definitely closing with the DRS open, but you can see not really looking to be a threat at this moment in time. Calzo, however, is closing in on Koala on those medium tyres. Is he able to brake late enough and go all the way round the outside at the first part? Indeed he is. Now we could start seeing those medium tyre runners moving up the field. They're probably at a stage of the race now where out with these 7-lap old tyres, they're the ones to be on.
Yeah, well, interesting. I think Koala might come back here. Very close. I don't think he's going to go into this corner. Yeah, he just sticks behind Calzo right now, but yeah, it looks like the medium tyres are better to be on right now. Koala going over the bump there and unsettled his car. For Calzo, he's got a little bit away, but he's got a lot of free air here, so really he needs to use his opportunity to push now and get away from those soft runners. Perhaps catch up to Bugatti, but this is really good for Calzo because he hasn't exactly lost so much ground on those medium tyres compared to the soft tyres. And it is becoming towards those time where you'll get the soft tyre runners in the pits. I'm waiting to see who makes the first move though, and I wonder if it will be Lars, because Lars has that wing damage, but obviously we'll be seeing loads of people potentially looking for the pits, and even the front runners looking for it. D-Screen, no, he does the dummy there, so he is not coming to the pits. No one coming to the pits, and yes, I was correct, Lars into the pits, and he's the first one in, and I'm wondering if he does get a wing change here. Luckily, he's the only one that actually opts to go into the pits. And no, it's not a wing change. It's just a tyre change. So perhaps Lars thinks that he's doing fine with those. Perhaps it was just the tyres themselves. But he comes in and is the first person to stop.
Yeah, the driver who is really struggling all of a sudden is Koala, getting passed on that lap by Calzo, Vanderbroek, Pit Matt, and then at the start of lap 9, Super Mario managing to work his way up ahead as well. So the space of just a lap really, Koala's dropped from 10th to 13th. It's even worse when you consider the fact that obviously Lars has dropped now way down to 15th place. But on the fresh medium tyres, Lars is going to be flying around as he tries to do the undercut and try to get himself again further back up into the points. Young Power getting himself a time penalty there for multiple corner extending as Cohen actually nearly lost it through the second part there of Ascari. Still seems to get a fantastic run through though. I think we are going to see most of these guys pit now that we've seen someone already blink and Lars come into the pits. Are we going to see any of the top drivers come in this top train of 6 cars? And it looks like the majority of them are doing their Spreen, Cohen, Ginger and Young Power into the pits, and that makes Kazizel leading the race on his debut this season as D Spreen was. Carlsberg now in second position, and Bugatti actually has managed to get past Black Phoenix. Where did Bugatti catch up all of a sudden? He's now up into third position. I swear he was about 4 or 5 places behind a few laps ago.
He's just had incredible pace, and I'm going to look at his laps actually for that, because you're right, he's definitely caught up. His laps compared to his teammate, he was in the mid-22s the last couple of laps. His teammate has been fine. In fact, he's been in the high 22s and the 23s in the last 2 laps. But right now, Bugatti is doing fine at the moment compared to his teammate. And perhaps that is the reason why both the Williams are still yet to pit. So obviously they won't pit both on this lap. I'm wondering if Black Phoenix is going to pit this lap and then Bugatti on the next lap, because Bugatti seems kind of fine at the moment on those tyres to go an extra lap or 2, and it looks like his pace is still starting to drop, but his pace seems fine. Oh, as I say that, Bugatti into the wall, and wait, has he escaped? Wait, what? On my screen, he just hit the wall there, and he's gotten out of that unscathed. I have no idea what's just happened there, but he's got no damage from that, and well, that's impressive, I must say. But he went he went off the track. I don't know if he went into the wall, but he went off the track so rapidly, it basically looked like he went into the wall, but that was a really strange one. But yeah, Bugatti now leads this race, and he's still yet to come in, but I have no words really. I don't understand if it was some sort of lag or something, or something like that, but that's obviously incredible. If he's kept that out of the wall from the way he went into that corner and spun it, how he's kept that out of the wall and kept going is quite remarkable.
Amazing how that has actually happened. We've seen some gaps start to appear at the net lead of the race. Spreen 1.2 seconds ahead of Cohen. Carlsberg, despite going a lap longer, he's now up into third place. I think Young Power and Ginger got quite held up in the pit stops. I did see Kazizel definitely did as well, because he's now dropped down to a net 6th place. So Carlsberg slowly sneaking his way up after starting in 8th position. A long way down the grid for him. Now working his way up the order. We've only got 3 drivers then who are yet to pit. That is Bugatti, Calzo and Pitmat, as Bugatti, again at Ascari, has made a mistake. Again, he seems to have got away with it. Him and Boss Wanted, some sort of synchronised drifting team I think they've got coming on here through Ascari, but they'll definitely be coming into the pits now because those soft tyres will be absolutely cooked, and it's a shame for him because he was showing some pretty good pace before those couple of mistakes. So that will put Calzo took the lead because of the incident. Pitmat will be second. Bugatti then gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's really not going to plan for him all of a sudden. Fastest lap of the race then now is set by Cohen, and Bugatti's retired from the session.
Yeah, Bugatti not really having the best race, and I think he's just in frustration really. He's retired from the race, and Cohen seemed to get his boots out a little bit, getting a little bit quicker. Kausper as well. Kausper's closed in quite a bit. I believe he had DRS last time out. Cohen didn't, but Cohen desperately needs to get within that 1 second, which he's currently not in, because Kausper's closes, Young Power's closing, and Ginger is also in that battle as well, and they're all going to close in now until Cohen can close in to D-Screen. He's in big trouble with not even losing second place, but maybe even losing an entire podium altogether.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. This could be very interesting between these fast guys. Can they catch up though to D-Screen, who's just keeping that gap? As you can see, it's just above a second at the moment, just slightly out of reach for Cohen, Kausper and the rest of them. Young Power jumping Ginger in that pit stop period as well. Gets a bit of a twitch on through the Scaries. Luckily nowhere near as bad as we've seen a few other drivers earlier on, so he will stay in 6th position for now. Lars, the undercut definitely worked for him. He jumped ahead of Black Phoenix, but still not on the back as he's lost it through Parabolica, similar to what we saw Leclerc doing the Italian Grand Prix. Again, somehow these drivers are holding on to these massive moments, but Black Phoenix does get ahead of him up into 9th position. That was huge, and I think back in the olden days when there was a bit more gravel there at Parabolica, that was just a one-way ticket to the gravel trap and the barriers.
Oh, well, Lars, again, like you said, these drivers, they seem to be almost giving you a heart attack and everything. Like, keep making these mistakes at the exit for Ascari. That time out Parabolica, of course, and how he kept that out, I do not know. Again, it's just fast, quick reactions, and, you know, you've got to give credit to all the drivers doing this. Cohen was temporarily in the DRS activation, but he's back out of it again. I think he's had a bit of a mistake or a bit of a low sort of Lesmo 1, which is quite poor for him because now he's missed out on the DRS, and he's got Kausper closing in now 3 tenths behind him. It is pretty much crucial now that he has a really good exit out of Ascari. It looks decent. I don't think it's enough though to get him the DRS. He's very close. Look how close this is going to be. I think he's just about made it in. Has he misjudged the corner though? A little bit going a little bit wide. I think he's alright. Has he got the DRS?
No.
Yes, he has. Oh. He has got the DRS in the end. We thought for a moment he didn't, but he has got the DRS in the end. He's defending from Kausper though, who's got a much better exit. Pushed to the inside. And look at that, he's made the move, and Kausper up to 2nd place. Well, net 2nd anyway. And I think behind as well, we saw Ginger. Wait, no, was Young Power ahead of Ginger? I think he was, but there was a little bit of battling going on behind. There may still be this. To the outside goes Kazizzle. Oh my goodness, I couldn't get the words out. Kazizzle to the outside, now has the inside line. He's got the move done anyway, and Kazizzle up to 7th place, and Ginger down to 8th.
Yeah, so while all that was happening, Lars, I think, made contact with the barrier and has had to come into the pit, put a new front wing on, and change onto the medium tyre. So Lars down in last position at the moment. So not the greatest lap for Mercedes. One of the drivers making a mistake out of Parabolica. He just went too deep, and even with the DRS, it was a straightforward overtake for Kausper. He's now up into a net 2nd position, and he'll be trying to get within that 1 second, which he's in at the moment, and stay within it. Most crucially, and maybe on slightly fresher tyres, only ever so slightly, see if he can put pressure on D-Screen. Kausper could soon be in his familiar position this season of leading the race. Leader of this race at the moment though is Calzo, 2.3 seconds ahead of Pitmat. Both these drivers obviously starting on the medium tyres. further down the field, what battles have we got? We've got Vanderbrug. He's currently in the points positions at the moment. And I think he was just trying to break the toe ever so slightly from Super Mario, who didn't get the best exit through Parabolica. It's been fairly incident-free race. We've had a lot of drivers who've nearly crashed, but we're halfway through, and the only retirement so far has been Bugatti, who retired in the pits.
Yeah, no incidents, which is what we like to see. No drivers making silly mistakes. Well, I say silly mistakes, but I meant mistakes in terms of contact with each other. I think all drivers have got good respect for each other, and I think now that we're in the midway point of the season, halfway point of the season, I think we would expect that really from all the drivers as they get to know each other. Lars retiring in the pit lane then, so only 2 retirements now, but they're both in the pit lane. But like you said, all drivers seem to be very respectful. Look at Cohen here, he's got a really good Ascari here, and he's caught right up to Kausper, and D-Screen as well falling back a little bit. So this could be really interesting. I wonder if Kausper's going to get the move done here. He has so much more ERS than what D-Screen has. D-Screen almost out of it now. So I'm just wondering now if this is going to be Kausper's moment. He's got the better exit. To the outside it goes. Should be an easy move. Can Cohen perhaps catch up? It don't look like it. So D-Screen does keep second place net lead wise. And Lars coming out of the pits. That is not Lars' fault. Luckily he's ghosted there, but that is not Lars' fault. Can't blame him. He did retire in the pit lane, but that would have been a really awkward moment for those guys coming through where that was. But yeah, I think when you retire in the pit lane, I think it should just be coded that you get stopped in the pit lane, but apparently not. And yeah, Lars could be considered as a bit of a barrier for these guys, and I think these guys were a little bit nervous going out of that, but I don't think it's affected them too much. Young Power's still around the second behind, and Cohen and D-Screen are still very close to Kausper, so they'll battle on, but that was a nervy one.
Yeah, because Izzel actually nearly went for a move into the Rogier chicane on Young Power from a long way back. I think he pulled out of it at the last second, which was a good job. Otherwise it was only ending one way, and probably with damage for the Haas and a spinning Renault at this moment in time. Now we're in a different situation. Now D-Screen has got the DRS, but again, not loads of ERS that he's really going to be able to attack with as he goes into overtake and one out a long way down the straight. Cohen deciding he's just too far back to maybe go for it at this moment in time. So no position changes really on that lap. 11 laps remaining. We've flown through the first part of this race. Kausper and Pitmat still around. Kausper though in that third position, the leader of everyone who has stopped, of course, and with the guy who's second in the championship currently out of the race, the guy who's third in the championship 18 seconds off of 13th position at the moment, looking like he's going to get no points. This is a fantastic opportunity for Kausper to really extend his lead and take, quite possibly, I know it's incredibly early on in the season, 7 races to go still after tonight, possibly an unassailable lead.
Yeah, and I think that's his 5th win of the season if he takes this one, yes. And of course he only had that DNF in Belgium, but if he did put on the Inters, that could have been a win there. In Spain he could have won that as well easily. He had I think he's got spun in Spain, which caused him to go down to 8th place, but he could have been 100% right now. I mean, we talked about how good Raf had been this season in PSGL before obviously he went in F2, but yeah, it could have been the same for Kausper, and I think when Kausper hasn't had the issues that he's had, such as like the safety car strategy change and things like that, I think he really could have been probably one of the most dominant champions in PSGL history, and I still think he could be on for breaking some PSGL records. I'm not sure if any driver has gone 12 wins in a season, but that, in my opinion, that's incredible when you think about out of 14 races. Now he leads this race. D-Screen is behind, but he's not been closing. And as you said, he's been rather edgy on the overtake, being a bit up and down. And look at Kausper, he has 60% compared to D-Screen's 30 and Cohen's 50. So D-Screen's in a poor position. Luckily, he shouldn't lose any position to Cohen unless he drops out of that second from Kausper.
Yeah, I think that's going to be all important now for D-Screen. He's staying within that second margin. And of course, we'll check later on, but penalties could always have an effect. Calzo has come out of the pits in 10th position on fresh soft tyres. Pitmat is in 12th, and you see here Calzo behind Super Mario, behind Vanderburg, who I don't want to jinx him, but touch wood, he could well score his first points of the season at the moment, doing a very solid job at the moment in 8th position. You can just see the grip Calzo has got at the moment, just coming through Ascari, able to take so much more speed. Here we go then, up near the front of the race, Cohen. This is the closest he's been to D-Screen for a while, but that DRS just manages to keep the Red Bull ahead, and Young Power closing in as well. And obviously Kalsper not really able to get ahead of these guys at the moment in time, as Calzo right behind Super Mario at the moment is going to try and get past Vanderburg. We're 3 wide here into the Rettifilio, and Calzo just says, I'll drive around the outside of both of you. Great racing, great respect from all of them. And Vanderburg and Super Mario still going side by side. It's going to be a straight drag race between the Alfa Tauri and the Ferrari coming through the Curva Grande, and Vanderburg just about holds onto that. Great driving from Calzo though. What he needs to do to try and boost his way up the field, because on those soft tyres you could still catch up Black Phoenix here and maybe take 7th position.
Yeah, it's very close. Vanderburg going dipping his tyres into the gravel a little bit, almost caused Super Mario to go straight into the back of him. Good awareness though from the Ferrari driver as he backed out a little bit there. It's Vanderburg a little bit struggling on those medium tyres perhaps, maybe a little bit under pressure perhaps with that Ferrari behind, but at the moment for Calzo, this is brilliant news because he is likely to get that fastest lap as well. The next man up the road is Black Phoenix, 5 seconds, which he will be able to close. Whether he'll be able to make up any more positions, I don't know, but Calzo has really had a good race though, I reckon. Nice and clean, he's up 4 positions, and I think he'll be happy that he's taken no points today. As we look behind though, Vanderburg could be in trouble with Super Mario. He's got a better exit, I believe, Super Mario. DRS open, he's got a little bit of DRS, but I think he's going to hang back for now. Pitmat looks like he's got an easy move past Koala on the better tyres. Koala doesn't really do much to defend it, and well, it looks like Pitmat is on the surge to get into the points at least as well at the moment.
Yeah, let's not forget, Koala and Pitmat set identical times. Koala set his first, he took 10th on the grid. Pitmat got 11th, got 3 tyre choice, and maybe you're just seeing the advantage of that now as he's able to work his way up the order. He's up into 11th position at the moment. Can the Renault driver continue his record of finishing in the top 10 in all the races that he's taken part in? He only needs to get 2.4 seconds up the road to catch up to Super Mario. Out in front though, it's Kalsper. All importantly now, he's just pushed that gap above the 1 second mark. I think he's used up a lot more VRS on this lap to get it up to that 1 second. And now D-Screen, this could be danger territory for him. He's low on ERS. Cohen behind's got DRS. The Red Bull is going to have to go extremely defensive here on the run down to turn 1. And I don't think it is going to make 1 iota of difference. You can just see the Mercedes catching up to him. Cohen round the outside, ahead before the braking zone. He takes 2nd place off the Red Bull.
Yeah, and Cohen will be very happy with that. He's in 2nd place, but now this battling doesn't do them any good. If they want to win this race, they need to close in on Kalsper, who's now 1.6 seconds ahead. I don't know what it is with this McLaren, but he just seems to be quick every week in and out, and no matter where he starts as well, because Kalsper started like 8th or something, he still goes on to find a way to win. It's now almost 2 seconds, in fact it is 2 seconds clear now of Cohen, and well, he looks to be in a really good position now, and D-Screen is going to be battling Cohen now for 2nd place, it looks like. And Kalsper is going to go on to win this race. Let's not forget though, penalties could play a part in this.
Yeah, I know Kalsper definitely has a 3-second penalty, and I think Cohen does as well, to be honest. I'm not sure about D-Screen, as Cazizzo nearly went straight into the back of Young Power there, which would not have liked to see, because it's been a very good race so far, standards-wise. Still got 14 drivers in. Lawson Bugatti retiring in the pits. In fact, I think the closest we came to any car being involved in an accident was Lars' AI car. Screen there, not with the best run through Parabolica. He will get DRS, and he's going to need that to defend here from Young Power down the straight. Here we go. Is the Renault driver going to be able to maybe send one up the inside into the Rettifilio chicane here? Screen with a very late move, I must say. Very late move, and I think Young Power is just going to take him all the way around the outside here. There's going to be some wheel banging between the two of them. Who's going to have the traction coming out on the run down towards Curva Grande? You can still see them banging wheels. It's Young Power's going to be able to go all the way around the outside. That gives him the inside line. Let's not forget, for the next corner, Kazizel's there as well. He's trying to go down the inside. He's gone extremely late on the brakes. Somehow, he's made the corner. Kazizel's up into third position. Young Power's going to try and fight back into the first Lesbo. This is great racing between all of them. Still some more wheel banging. This is just allowing Cohen and Kalsper to get away from these guys. Still, they're going at it here. Young Power's going to get DRS. That should just allow him to stretch ahead, but he's going to have to go all the way around the outside through Ascari. This has allowed Ginger to catch back up as well. And Young Power, I think, finally takes third position, but that was a lot harder than he would have expected it to be. A very late defensive move from D-Screen, I think, just forced Young Power to lift off the throttle and allowed Kazizel to get involved, and that was a very brave move into the chicane from Kazizel as D-Screen down the inside at Parabolica drifts his way around, and he drops down to 7th position. Has he got any front wing damage from that? I can't quite tell. Even if he has, it's probably too late to come into the pits, but he's gone down into 7th. Such a shame for him, to showing some good pace early on, and Kazizel now getting ahead of Young Power again, so they swap for 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, and I think D-Screen there, he got a little bit too ambitious into the corner. I think he was like, should I go for the move or not? It was a little bit indecisive perhaps, and in the end he was like, oh, I'll go for the move, and it didn't quite work out. I don't really want to say it's anyone's fault really, but D-Screen's really. I think he should have just stuck behind and maybe got the move on Kazizel, who I think was on Power, who was in 3rd at the time, and I think he would have been able to get through with Kazizel. He was very close behind him, and they probably both would have been able to get past Young Power, but in my opinion, I just think that D3 was a little too ambitious, and something's happened at the back there. What was it?
Pitmat, he's got so much more pace on the soft tyres, tapped Vanderburg coming through the first Lesbo, and Vanderburg had to do a fantastic drift to hold on to the car. He's dropped down though, out of the points now. He's down to 11th, and that's allowed Super Mario to get away ever so slightly. Out in front of this race, so 4 laps to go. Kalsper now with a 2.5 second lead. All that battling. Cohen all of a sudden, he's just on his own now, and looks as though he's taking an easy run to 2nd. You've got Kazizel 3rd, Young Power 4th, Ginger 5th, and that incident between D-Screen where he just tapped the back of Kazizel, that's allowed Black Phoenix just get in within that all-important 1 second window, and Calzo's not too far ahead of D-Screen as well, although it looks as though the soft tyres are starting to wear. He's not catching up at the same rate of knots he was earlier on. Is Young Power close enough to have a move on Kazizel? No, he's not this time around. Just have a quick check of the penalty situation between some of these front guys. Kalsper, you can see there, has the 1 penalty, so that's 3 seconds added onto his time. Also 3 seconds added onto Cohen's time. Kazizel has picked up a few penalties, so he's going to drop down the order. Young Power as well, a couple of penalties. Ginger, same with a couple. Black Phoenix only has 1 warning at the moment. If Black Phoenix just hangs onto the back of these guys, he could get onto the podium.
Yeah, well, D-Spring won't be in the way anymore because look at him, he's got a 3 second penalty as well. So everyone around Black Phoenix has a penalty, and I guess this will play for the podium here at the moment. And because Zizzle, you said, has a couple of penalties. Young Power, Ginger, they all have a couple of penalties. Cohen only has 1 penalty. I want to see if Kalsper has any more warnings after that. No, he doesn't. Cohen, no, he doesn't. So after they got their penalty, they've both been rather clean, which is good to see, but I mean, Kalsper looks like he's going to be on for another win, but interestingly for 3rd place, Black Phoenix is now your favourite to get that 3rd place, and well, if we keep getting caught up in these DRS trains, that just makes it even more likely at the moment. Yeah,
most certainly. Further back, Pitmat and Super Mario battling through the exit of the Retafilio chicane, and with that extra grip on the soft tyres, it's going to be straightforward for Pitmat. He gets his way up into 9th place, and this allowed Vanderburg to get back into the battle. He's got a perfect view here. Super Mario has found a lot of pace all of a sudden from somewhere round the outside. He goes. Great move from the Ferrari driver. I don't think Pitmat was expecting that to be coming, and he's now up into 9th is the Ferrari. Pitmat's going to have to try again. Zach coming into the pits. He's put the soft tyres on, just going for a bit of a late glory run on those soft tyres to get the fastest lap, but obviously he's outside the top 10, so he won't get anything for it as Pitmat gets ahead of Super Mario on the run down to Ascari. Lap 26 of the race then, just about to start. Carlsberg in the lead, Cohen second, out on track at least. We've still got a very good battle on for third position. Young Power closing onto Kazizel, who's not bothered to use any overtake at the moment, and Young Power forcing the Haas to go defensive here. That's going to compromise his line coming through this part of the chicane. Can Young Power get a better exit? No, he can't. Just getting a bit of wheel spin there, costing him ever so slightly. And further back, I'm surprised Calzo hasn't caught up to the back of these guys as much as I'd expected. He's only done 7 laps on those soft tyres, so given everyone ahead of him's on about 14-15 lap on mediums, and I still expected him to have a bit more pace, but only really this lap have we seen that gap coming down below 2 seconds. Yeah,
well, Calzo obviously on those soft tyres, they're going to wear much quicker, and perhaps he's been rushing with them a lot, and perhaps they're going out of juice, but however, he's closing right now towards them. And, well, same really with Pitmat. No, I'm wrong actually, not the same with Pitmat, he's 9 seconds behind. Excuse me for that, but you should see Calzo within 1 second, I reckon, out the exit of Ascari. Is he going to pull it that way? He's getting closer. This is going to be quite close then, and he is within the seconds. So Calzo here is going to be at the back of this train, and interestingly, I don't know how many penalties or if Calzo has penalties. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have penalties at the moment, so Calzo actually could be fighting Black Phoenix at the end, but Black Phoenix is close to Ginger. He's not going to be making a move at this current point. Neither is Young Power, but Kazizel again going defensive. But I do think that Young Power is stuck behind at the moment. It's Vanderberg out of this, and he's gone into the pits as well with that, so I'm wondering if he's just given up there. Super Mario still battling with Pitmat and almost getting the position back. Let's look where Young Power is. He's close. He's not going to get him. Calzo's going to get D-Speed around the outside. D-Speed coming right back here around the outside. Side by side through here to the first Lesbo. But I do think that Calzo has the position, and I think he will be loving that right now. D-Speed still stuck behind. And interestingly now, the DRS will be in D-Speed's hands. And let's see what he can do. He opens it, but it looks like Calzo has used his overtake just to make sure he sticks ahead.
Yeah, and Young Power just not able to get ahead of Kazizel either here. And you can see Black Phoenix all over the back of Ginger, but rounding the Parabolica. Didn't have the best qualifying, but once he took the lead of this race, it never really looked him down. And it's 5 wins from 7 for Carlsberg. He takes the victory here, and a huge step towards taking the championship. Cohen will cross the line in second. Black Phoenix has actually managed to pass Ginger before the line. Cohen second, Black Phoenix securing third, Young Powers fourth, Calzo fifth, Kazizel sixth, Spreen seventh. Still very good debuts from both of them as reserves. Ginger is in eighth, Pitmat will be ninth, and Koala ends up taking the final point on penalties from Super Mario. But we probably shouldn't be surprised. Before the start of the race, before the start of qualifying even, we wouldn't have been surprised to see Carlsberg taking the victory. I think it's fair to say after the qualifying, we didn't expect him to take it that convincingly.
Well, first, eighth at the back of the grid. I mean, we challenge you, Carlsberg, next week. Be at the back of the grid, then sort your way through to the front. And I'm hopefully not gonna jinx myself and they have like only 8 people turn up, but it seems like wherever Carlsberg starts, he seems to still find a way to win this race. And, you know, like you said, convincingly 4 seconds clear of Cohen in second, and that's impressive, really, in my opinion. And he continues to win. That's his 5th race of the season. He can still go on to win 12 races, and like I said, with Spain he could have won, with Belgium he could have won. He was quite unfortunate and maybe made a few mistakes, but in pretty much every race, excluding like, you know, those strategy changes or those slight weather changes, etc., or being spun around, he's literally been on fire, and I don't think there's anyone who's going to stop him this championship.
No, deservedly driver of the day. Another 16 points for him. I'm going to try and do some quick maths while we see the podiums here. He's 39 points ahead of Lars, 42 ahead of Zach, and I don't think anyone else will have actually closed that up, so I do think Carlsberg has now got a 39-point lead in this championship. It's 2.5 race victories with 7 races to go. Yes, it can change, but it's going to take a severe, I think, drop-off from form of Carlsberg and someone to just consistently challenge him, as we see Cohen getting his best result of the season and Black Phoenix making a return to the podium. That's now 3 podiums this season for the Williams driver. Those were your top 3 then. Young Power in 4th position. Calzo, the alternate strategy working well for him to get 5th. Kazizel and D-Screen 6th and 7th on their debut. Probably a bit disappointed after starting in 3rd and 2nd respectively. Ginger dropping to 8th. Pitmat was 9th. Koala took 10th. Super Mario just missing out on points. Boss wanted the spins at Ascavi, really did cost him. Zach picked up the fastest lap, but that damage early on cost him. We saw Vanderbroek, Lars and Bugatti retire in the pit lane. As let's try and get the top 3 drivers in, because I think they'll all be fairly happy with how that race went, to be honest.
So far, it's not been great. I think this is a wake-up call for Cohen, and I think he really will start to put in the performances now. I speak to Cohen quite a bit, and he's just saying that Kalsper was insane. And, I mean, this season is basically just described him in an instant. He has been insane. He's been unstoppable, and despite, like I said, certain things happening, probably out of his control, kind of, speaking, he's gone on to win the race, and he's just incredible.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely fantastic Italian Grand Prix, and we have now actually got our top 2 with us, and we'll start off with the winner for the 5th time this season, and if my mental maths don't let me down, which is very possible they do, 39 points in the lead of the championship now, Kalsper. Got to say, it's looking very good for yourself. Still half the season to go, but you're looking very good indeed.
I'm honestly shocked that I won that race. I shouldn't have won that race, but a series of events happen in racing, and I was just lucky to come out on top in that one.
I mean, you say you were lucky. You were showing good pace, working your way through the front of the field. Admittedly, qualifying didn't go to plan. Why do you feel like luck was such a big part of that win?
I feel like my setup was more tuned towards the race rather than qualifying, because in qualifying the car's a lot more unstable and on the edge, whereas in the race mine just felt a lot more stable, and having seen a few of the guys make mistakes in front of me, I was just able to capitalise on that and take advantage and overtake them.
Yeah, definitely a great win for yourself. Obviously, you were feeling good going into the second half of the season. Next race, Vietnam. A lot of people don't enjoy that track. Are you one of them?
I don't mind it. Like, I'm not a lover, but I'm not a hater. So it depends on how the other drivers do, to be honest, and I'll just try as hard as I can.
Yeah, well, that's definitely worked for you so far. Congratulations on your 5th win of the season. Next up, we have a man who got his best result of the season and his first podium of the season. It is Cohen. Great job from yourself in qualifying, and again, great job in the race. It's just Kalsper, once again in the race, just proved a bit too fast, as he has done for many people this season.
Yeah, exactly. No, the qualifying was not that great, but I managed to grab pole. Only, Kalsper was too quick on the mediums today. Fair play to him. It was just a bit unfortunate, because sometimes you just battle with other people and just lose your time, but it was a good race in the end. P2, I'm pretty happy with it, as it's my best finish of the season.
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of good battles there with a few people.
Yeah.
I think D-Screen especially, he passed you in the first stint. You got back passed ahead of him in the second sprint. Did you think you had a chance maybe of taking the victory and maybe taking the fight to Kalsper in that latter stages once you got back ahead of the Red Bull?
No, to be fair, when D-Screen went out to the DRS of Kalsper, it was pretty hard to catch up, as Kalsper had very good pace on the mediums. We tried to catch up, but Yeah, in the end, I didn't know what happened with the guys behind me because suddenly they lost like 3 seconds. But I'll have to watch that back on the live stream.
I think it's fair to say what happened behind you was some very brave moves and somehow no huge accident. I still don't know how that didn't end in tears for the 3 of them. Second half of the season now, you've got your first podium, you've missed a few races. Do you feel like you can get a good end to the season and maybe pick up the odd win here and there?
Hopefully, it's some tracks that are coming up are one of my best tracks, so I'll try to grab and do as best as possible, and we'll see then.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the podium, and someone who's making his return to the podium, first time since the Spanish Grand Prix, it is Black Phoenix. Black Phoenix proving once again that if you keep it clean, you might just end up gaining a few places at the end, and it's got you another podium here.
Yeah, that was as soon as I lost or was out of DRS, that's what my game plan was, just to keep it clean. And then as soon as we started to battle, I was licking my lips at it. So yeah, I was very consistent race. I mean, my quality was not great, but as soon as I slapped on the medium tyres, I was kind of flying a bit. So it was a very good race for me.
Yeah, was it important for yourself to get back up near the sharp end of the grid? Because the last 2 races, Belgium, obviously you were in second place before the safety car, and then there was you and Kalsper decided to stay out on track, and the rain came down, and it didn't go to plan, I think it's fair to say. And then you picked up some penalties in Holland, which dropped you out of the point. So it must feel good to get back on the podium again.
Yeah, because I felt like last week I had the pace to challenge Kalsper, but so I'm just actually quite surprised after my quality that I got third. But yeah, it's just keeping it clean, and that's all I've got to do now. That's what I've got to keep doing.
Yeah, definitely. So you are, I believe, currently 48 points off the championship lead. So that's 3 race wins. It's mathematically possible. How easy it's going to be, I don't know. I think you're within 10 points of Lars, though. So where do you see yourself now? Do you see yourself just going for that second place, or do you still think you've got a chance of maybe beating Kalsper?
I think just second place. I think I've just been a bit unlucky this season with some of the races, so I'm just going to focus on myself. I'm not going to look at the championship because there's not really a point for me, to be honest. So I'm just going to probably focus on that second place.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that goes for the second half of the season. Congrats to yourself. Congrats to all 3 who got on the podium. Sam, do you have any questions to add?
Yeah, one quick question for Kalsper. Like, at the start of the season, like, obviously you got a lot of tough competitors. Who did you actually see as like your main competitor of the season? And also, were you expecting to actually be this dominant so far?
Do you mean like before the roster, or like after the roster when there was all changes and that?
I'm referring to when we got to Austria, like at the start of the season.
Okay, so I haven't raced like anyone in this division apart from my teammate. So I literally just came in here blind and just guessing where I'm going to finish. I was hoping for top 5s and podiums like from the start of the season, because like it's not putting too much pressure on myself. Yeah, it kind of is pushing me at the same time. So yeah.
What do you reckon into the second half of the season? Your 2 race wins clear. Is it just focus from now on? Do you just focus, or do you think it's just a little bit pressure off, gloves off a little bit? You just want to have a little bit of fun, or are you just going to keep it up and keep winning?
I wouldn't really say the pressure's off, because like after you saw in Belgium, 1 bad race, 16 points slapped off the board, and it's just trying to keep it consistent and keep penalties as low as possible, because that's just been like such a turning point for the top 3 this season.
I mean, yeah. I think we've seen that in a few races. I think I mention it every time, and until Lars wins a race, I'm going to mention it every time. He's crossed the finish line first 3 times, and is still yet to win a race, which is a bit of a shame for him. But I'm sure he'll come back after a disappointing race today. So again, thank you to Kalsper, your winner, Cohen, who got second, and Black Phoenix, who got 3rd place. Will they be able to carry on these great results at the next race, which will be round 8 of the season, the second new track in 3 weeks here at PSGL. It is going to be the Vietnam Grand Prix, and you are not going to want to miss that. There's plenty of action around there, and there's always the threat of rain as well. But thank you to Sam for joining me. Thank you to the podium sitters for joining us for the interviews as well. Thank you guys for watching as well. There'll be more PSGL action from Formula Performance tomorrow night, and then again on Thursday and Sunday. But from all of us here, thank you for watching, and good night.